Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Heroes. This is the Grand Arena for the alt account recap for Season 29, Week 2, all 3 rounds. We begin with a status update of the account. We're at about 3.37-ish million GP on this account. From the previous week, I improved the Sith Trio team to give a little bit more flexibility for some counters. I'm just slowly building up that depth. You can see about how many Gear 11 to Gear 10 characters that we have. Several rows upon rows of that. Very quickly developing the account. Compared to my opponent, he's got a pretty nice roster. He's also punching up fairly well at 2.8, 2.9 million GP. He's got 13 relics, and you can see how quickly he gets shallow though. That's the trade-off. He very quickly, only like 7 rows in, starts hitting the Gear 10 and below. So he does have the stronger high end, but he does not have the same depth. Looking at the defense, he takes 2 shots up against Telzine. Down below, 3 shots up against Darth Revan. And on the back wall, no solutions for Iden, and he has a little trouble on Karth, and probably is out of weapons by that point. No issues dealing with the home one. I'm almost done farming the Outrider on this account too, and I have not been going crazy with it. So we got to deal with Poggle and Geos, and then Crew and Krennic with the Omicron. I'm just reminding myself what that Omicron even does. So we get additional health and offense, defense penetration. He has some cooldown manipulation. He ignores taunt. Just seeing what kind of counter is going to be necessary here. I don't want to go too strong, but I probably do what I do. Rebels. Yeah. Just being able to stun a relic to start or to negate a powerful character at the beginning of a battle is what makes this team so valuable and effective. We'll switch to the smaller screen in a moment. I don't want to do it in the middle of the battle. Or maybe we will. Turning to the action. Rip apart Trooper, and then we got to deal with Tarkin, who's really all on his own is a pretty weak relic. Kind of surprised that that's one of his few relics, not one I would recommend. Unless you're going after Sith Eternal Emperor, which he may be doing. Not a bad GL to go after, but I would probably relic other requirements first. What do I do? So resistance. This is a little risky for my roster. Obviously, this is a strong counter if you have the right team, but these characters are not fully developed. They don't have Zetas. They don't have Omegas. They don't even have all their purple ability levels. They're fairly weak. They're at Gear 8. Well, JTR is Gear 11, but the heroes are at Gear 8. So their ability to stand up to some heat is pretty compromised, and you're going to see that. We are able to get through Fox, but that's not really enough. And even at Gear 11, the heroes are pretty weak, but they're not even really usable at lower levels. The problem is they are kind of expensive to gear. They do require Kairos and carbs and stun guns, so there's very little reason to do them too early, but they do pay out in the end. That was more for my own personal calibration to see, okay, at what level are they? I wanted to get a better feel for them. This is just my counter these days. and why I felt like I needed to have a Traya squad so that I didn't have to always use Vader and Palpatine. Because with this way that I'm building this account of intentionally not relicing characters, it makes some of these counters a little bit more expensive where I could just do a Relic Vader, now I have to bring Vader in with some friends. Just because I want, as my main account is forced into relics, I want this account to remain as a showcase for what low gear can do. The right low gear can do. I might augment that in the end with certain relics, I'm just undecided. And Vader would definitely be one of those relics that would be augmenting the account. I'll just do it later if I do it at all. This is just, we gotta take the time. I took everybody up to gear 11, I increased their levels, made sure they had their Omegas, which gets closer to what I have in my main account. There's only one Zeta here. I only put the Zeta on the leadership so that the assists would reduce their health pool. The unique is also good, but I think we can survive without it for the time being. It's just those purple ability mats are in high demand. I'm very hesitant towards putting on Zetas on this account because I'm trying to very quickly develop out this really strong, deep base. I'm probably gonna Revan. It's such a weak team. I could probably just. I might even be able to Malak solo that. I don't even remember what I did. Because this recap's being recorded practically a week later. I brought in Dooku for just a little extra control. You can just see how effective putting fear onto everyone is. Really negates a lot of the effectiveness of this squad. It's fairly low gear though, it doesn't have the Zetas. Dooku is a character who really needs to be at relics. Gear 12 minimum, because he has 0 health steal until gear 12. And you can see with all these hits how we're just doing nothing. In terms of Dooku's health recovery. Yeah, I would say my opponent is definitely going for Sith Eternal Emperor. These three here are C requirements. But they're an extremely weak team. I wouldn't even put them on defense. Going in between the two squads, just making sure I don't use too strong of a counter anywhere. We still have Jedi Knight Revan, we've got the Bounty Hunters, we've got Troopers. We have plenty of tools at our disposal. I just don't want to use a too strong one up against the wrong team. This is just easy work. Down below, just Finn and the Sith remaining. We can just take my Jedi, make this easy work. Nobody is a threat here. Marauder's a great relic, but at Gear 12 he's not much anything. At relics though, he can one-shot certain characters. And if the inevitable Sith fleet ever happens, that will be a very worthwhile relic, especially because he's a bomber pilot, he's a tank pilot. I could do any number of things here. Okay, we go bounty hunters. See, this was a pretty weak defense. He kept a lot for offense, and you can see he just still didn't have the roster depth to counteract my depth. Like, his offense, even as strong as it was not enough. And I think that's the difference. Like, until you get the Galactic Legend, there is a chance of struggling and low performance. This guy's doing pretty well though. Like, most of the rosters I've been seeing are like 4 million plus, 5 million plus. There's a lot of accounts that drop down into Bronzium, and he's climbing up. This will just be quick work. We have a strong offensive counter in fleets. And this is a poor lineup. Phantom can't be on the front lines. All right. Those guys are down. Yeah. And there we go. A victory to start out week 2. And the final banners. We enter round 2 with a victory. My opponent is Din Djarin. He has a roster with several relics. He's got Malik. He's an even smaller count, 2.2 million GP. That's very strong. You can see he has fewer relics. They're all pretty reasonable relics. He's got some very good characters, also very shallow. But he plays it differently. You can see, has set his Darth Revan. So up top, we've got Grievous and Old Republic. Down below, we are looking at Darth Revan and Padme. Problem is, I don't really have a counter for Darth Revan, especially Relic Darth Revan. So we're going to start off with the easy stuff. Go for Padme. Working with the Sith. At this gear level, this is going to be fairly easy. I am throwing in my Malik though, just because he'll be a more effective tank at the gear level than the Scion. It's not really necessary. If it wasn't such a weak Kenobi, I probably would have isolated him, but he already has shock. We've increased cooldowns. I don't have to worry about him getting rid of the shock and taunting again. So we're taking that as an opportunity to get rid of Anakin, and by isolating Padme, we don't have to worry about Padme healing up anybody. straightforward and quick work. Grievous, no B1 Zeta. That B1 Zeta is pretty crucial. I think the B1 Zeta is way more important than either of the Grievous Zetas. Like Metalloid Monstrosity is an excellent Zeta, but at Gear 11, Gear 12, it's not that important. It doesn't do enough damage at those levels for it to be prioritized over what B1's healing can do with all those extra stacks and the extra damage that B1 is putting out. Throwing a little more protection onto Jolie to make sure he stays alive, heal up, and then we're good. All of that extra healing that we just gave to Jolie was pretty necessary. That kept him alive. And there we go. That's why like single relics are nice, but you have to have the right support. You have to go for the right single relics. Grievous does deserve to be one of those, but you have to give him the support units. Like if that was a Zetaed B1, that would have been completely different. This is a Hail Mary. This isn't a real attempt. This is can we get lucky and take out anybody? And we obviously can't. So we're gonna move on and do what we can. This is gonna be a short round. And this is what you should do with your relics, and why I think it's useful to have a deep roster so you can afford to set down some relics. Because like the last round guy, his roster was shallow, so he didn't set any on defense, any relics on defense, which gave me the freedom to do what I wanted. This guy does set down a relic, and he sets down his best relic, which makes it very difficult for me to get through, and I don't have options. So really, I just have to concede defeat. We make quick work of Karth and the Old Republic. Now we can move on to the fleet. Home one with Galactic Republic. This is a nonsense fleet. We'll just rip through it quick. And we can move on to round 3, or we'll do a quick recap. All of that gets dismantled. And there we go. 571 is our banners. And here are the results to that round. My opponent stopped attacking. That defense, that back territory didn't hold. He took 2 shots up against Earth. 3 up against Geos up top. Quick work. I'm going to change that territory. That territory is too weak. I could put them on the back wall or something. And this back territory, he didn't even attack. He had secured the victory, so he moved on. For the final round, this Bronzium Battler. 4.78, almost 4.8 million GP roster, a bunch of relics. You can see he goes deep on them. A lot of gear 12, some very questionable ones, and then a little lighter on the gear 11. But he has a fairly strong and deep roster. Really probably shouldn't be in this territory. We got to deal with Savage, we got to deal with Ventress, Vader with Relic, and then Palpatine. Vader lead is very weak. I do not recommend. He's much better under a Palp lead. So we just move in, stun him. Let me get this to the large screen. The game is just control. I want to pull back turn meter, but we're not getting any of that. And there goes Vader. Under Palp lead, he gets that speed boost, and that extra speed is what makes him dangerous. Because he's not that fast of a character on his own. Like, you can do Vader lead on offense, but not on defense. When Squad Arena still paid out crystals, I would hunt Vader leads and just take them apart to climb. Just debating which Jedi team. I don't want to take too good of a team because this is a weak Palp comp, but starting off with Tenacity up is why I want to go this route. And with Battle Meditation, being able to constantly put Tenacity up, it just completely negates what Palpatine can do here. And once Palpatine is gone, there's no squad here. We're passing back and forth strategic advantage so that Thrawn won't be countering. Not that it's a big concern, but we want to minimize it. Get rid of Fracture and take him out. Now for looking at this back wall, we got Dooku, Ewoks, and another Ewok team, and they are at relics, which is very weird and interesting. Maybe just an Ewok fan. And what was that movie called? Like Ewok Adventure or something? That movie, I haven't watched it since I was in elementary school, but it leaves an impression. At least at that age. This is me, like, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have been so arrogant to think my Gear 11 nest was going to be able to handle this. You can see it's all about the RNG of when the protection comes off. And I think does that Papu have a Zeta? That was a mistake. The Papu has a Zeta. There was enough recovery there where it was causing problems. This is what I would do on the main account. This is Dark Trooper rips through stacks of B1. And it just makes Dark Trooper very effective at handling him. I don't want to hit Dooku except for with Piet, because Piet's under stealth, and that was making sure that there wouldn't be any counters that would cause some problems. We lose Veers, and now we got to deal with Droidica. You can see we're not getting enough stacks to handle this guy. So eventually Droidica is going to take us apart. Ideally, he would take out Dark Trooper first so that we would have the damage boost from Piet and Emperor's Trap. But it does not go that way. So this will take some time, but he'll eventually get through the stacks of Dark Trooper and hold on for this one. But we have given ourselves something easy to clean up. We have a number of options. I just want to make sure at this point to not use up the right squads and the good squads in the wrong combination. That's where we would get into trouble. Moving around, making sure ability block is everywhere. Stunning the one character at relics. Staggers for control. Doc is the first one we want to get out of there. Now the threat of revives is gone. Using the assist synergy between Mara Jade and Palpatine to get through all of that extra health that the relic offers her. And Telsing doesn't matter. Now this is a unsynergistic team that has a couple weak Sith. This was something that I'm going to prepare for the future. Let me move my head. So Bo-Katan is what I was looking for, and my bow is very weak. So I'll be coming around in the future for that. So instead did I change my mind? So we have Wicket here. I think I'm going to go Sith. Yeah. Because the fear is going to negate Wicket a little bit. There's a little bit of assist calls. You can't nest. Well, nest wouldn't have worked regardless, but let's say I had a stronger nest. You can't throw nest up against Tivo lead. The stealth completely messes up because nest won't be countering. Throw the isolate on Wicket so Wicket can't be calling the assists, particularly on Scout. A relic Scout is such a waste, man. And the isolate prevents Wicket from going under stealth, so I can take the one threat here and eliminate him quickly. There goes Wicket. Do the same to Scout. And now T-Bow is meaningless at this stage. And there we go. Now we need to clean up a couple squads. We have options. Do I do bounty hunters? Bounty hunters would make sense. No, I thought we were doing Ewoks. JTR makes sense too. Because with JTR we're dazing and we're removing turn meter and removing the damage immunity. Yeah. Okay. Do I do it or not? Okay. What this squad offers is it allows me to maintain Bosk and Mando for another team, potentially up against that Droideka. I should just auto this. Do I auto this? I'll just go back and forth on all my different thoughts. It takes a little longer just because of the relics and that health pool. But we have enough control here where I'm able to get through it. My R2 is actually pretty weak. Leaving him exposed is risky. It's just the foresight, I know, gives me options, and I'd rather lose my R2 than lose my JTR. While he's stunned, I can be a little bit more judicious with how I use some of those other abilities. At this point, it doesn't matter. This is a weaker squad. And there we go. Squads defeated. And this is not really much of a threat of a comp for Chimera. Kinda nonsense. And we'll make quick work of this. Yeah, and that's ripped apart. And here are the results for the final round. This was a nice one. We just edge him out. Down below, he one-shots those squads. Back wall, though, Iden gives him trouble, Karth gives him trouble. So we were just more efficient. Barely. Close one, though. And that wraps up week 2, season 29. Hopefully we get some good news from CG this week, and we can have some talk videos. I have some other ideas in the meantime, maybe some smaller format concepts that I'll put out. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone. Be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.